up a chair next to the biggest hearth of them all. The Hearthstone World Championship at BlizzCon! And now, introducing your host, Rachel Quirico!
Hello, everybody! Welcome to Anaheim for BlizzCon 2015. I'm your host, Seltzer. I'm going to be bringing you 2 days absolutely packed full of Hearthstone. First and foremost, we have our Hearthstone World Championship. All year long, players competed for a chance to play on this stage. And after last week's matches, only 8 players remain in the tournament. And after today, there will be only 4. And tomorrow we crown our 2015 Hearthstone World Champion. But that's not all. In case a World Championship wasn't enough, we'll also be hosting a special BlizzCon edition of Challenge Stone. We've even arranged a Hearthstone show match between 2 titans of poker, Elke and Daniel Negreanu. Before we get there, of course, I want to give a huge thank you to our sponsors who help make all of this possible, from the stage, to the broadcast, to the $250,000 prize pool. At the moment, we're less than 15 minutes away from the start of our first quarterfinal match of the World Championship. Before we get there, I want to hear a few thoughts from the rest of the tavern staff. The inn is a pretty busy place today, and you never know who you might run into. But I think I see some familiar faces on the caster desk. Well met, Frodan.
Well met indeed. I found the Paladin player, everybody. It is Rachel over on stage, and thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. My name is Frodan, and I am excited to be part of the desk, joined by Yanni Mikkonen, also known as Savitz, and Brian Kibler, also known as Brian Kibler. How are we doing today?
It's great to be here and be part of this event, part of this awesome crowd. We had an incredible time at opening weekend just last week, but over these next 2 days, the competition is just going to get more intense.
Yeah, opening week saw some crazy matches with representation from all 9 classes, and some really key wins being picked up by shamans and rogues, classes that people would think are pretty weak. Hope to see some more of that excitement and some of those upsets here in the top 8.
Yeah, I was especially happy to see Thijs do so well, going undefeated with his Dragon Priest deck, making it out of the groups without dropping a single game. And even the dominance of Grim Patron Warrior that we saw throughout 2015 was continued in this event. The players who brought the Patron deck did very well, even in the deck's weakened state, which I think goes to show a lot about just how diverse the tournament metagame is here today.
Yeah, that's right. So it's going to be a really fun time, but then again, as Rachel mentioned, the World Championship matches are just one part of BlizzCon this year. In addition to the matches, we want to make sure you guys know about the special exhibitions we'll be having today, which will feature some even more out there gameplay and decks. It's going to be really exciting. And for those of you just joining us, our schedule today will begin with the first Hearthstone World Championship quarterfinal between Thijs from the Netherlands and Kranich from Korea. The second quarterfinal between Osaka from Sweden and Pimping Ho from Taiwan.
After that, we'll move to that exhibition match between poker greats Elke and Daniel Negreanu, followed by the first Challenge Stone match where I'll take on Amaz, and the second Challenge Stone match where you two will duke it out.
That match is going to be really fun. I can't wait. Afterwards, we will revisit the Hearthstone World Championship for the quarterfinal between Daimeng and Kuno, and the quarterfinal between Zoro and Hotform, before finally ending the day on the Challenge Stone final.
Yeah, those World Championship quarterfinal matches are certainly going to be awesome, but I'm really excited for that poker show match. And we even have our own poker pro from the Hearthstone community who will be joining us as well.
Yeah, that's right. We mentioned it at the very top of the show that there will be a show match between Daniel Negreanu and Elke. Well, Hearthstone was lucky enough to also snatch another poker player, and that's Life Coach, who will be commentating alongside of us here at BlizzCon, having been just 1 match away from making it to the top 8 just last week. Later, we'll see what he thinks about some of his former poker opponents and whether or not they can muscle their way into pro-tier Hearthstone play.
I am also really looking forward to those Challenge Stone matches mentioned earlier, which all 3 of us will be competing in alongside Amaz. Dan, what do you think about those Challenge Stone matches?
Well, Savitz, I can tell you how I would crush you, but why not hear first from Mr. Challenge Stone himself, waiting over at the bar. Crip, how's it going?
Hey guys, Kriparian here with Reynad. You know, Frodan, I think he's a little bit surprised to hear you and try to slam Savitz like that.
I just want to say, Dan, I'm pretty disappointed in you. I saw the Challenge Stone decks a bit earlier, and let me just say there's a little website that could help you become legendary.
Well, it's a little late for that, as the decks were built earlier this week, but stay tuned for the rules of the challenge, a look at how the players drafted their decks, and then catch those matches. And of course, that's all after the poker exhibition match.
You know, Crip, you and I actually have the best job here. We don't have to compete live in front of millions of people. We can kind of just don't have to be that professional. We don't have to keep up our...
Yeah, we can kind of get rolling with whatever we want. Doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Doesn't matter who wins. We just have all the fun.
Yeah, we just got to poke fun at the casters while they inevitably make mistakes. It'll be a good time. I'm looking forward to the match.
It'll be a great time. I can't wait to bring you guys Challenge Stone, such a huge audience live from Hearthstone stage at BlizzCon. And Raiden and I will see you throughout the day for the Challenge Stone matches. But for now, let's send it over to Nimsh on the other side of the stage, because I think we're almost ready to get the matches underway here today.
Thank you so much, Crip. We've gone through almost everything we wanted to say, but there are, of course, just a few things left. Amaz, how are you feeling about the matches?
Well, I'm feeling great to be here at BlizzCon again, to see so many passionate fans in the audience. BlizzCon was a great experience last year, and I've been looking forward to this for a long time.
Speaking of great experiences, I'm sure one of the players here at BlizzCon is going to feel amazing on Saturday afternoon. The prize pool for this event is $250,000, and the winner takes home $100,000 and is crowned the world champion.
Yeah, even though the cash prize is huge, the title of world champion in Hearthstone is probably more significant to the player who takes it all.
While we are here, I want to ask if you have any thoughts on the decks these players bringing. For example, we've seen 2 shamans, some rogues, and a priest make it to the top 8.
Well, that's partly due to the format of Conquest, where each player brings 3 deck lists. Since all 9 classes are represented, I'm expecting a lot of diversities in the matchups.
For those of you joining the Hearthstone World Championships, we wanted to go over exactly how the players will compete in this event, using the best-of-5 Conquest format.
And now that we've gone around the tavern and you've all heard our thoughts, there's only one thing stopping us from kicking things off: a trophy. So here to help us out with that is my teammate and the 2014 Hearthstone champion, Firebat.
Welcome back to the stage, Firebat. It was only 1 year ago where you were crowned the Hearthstone World Champion, and now we have a field of 8 new players up for contention. So I want to know, how have you been doing this last year?
Doing great. Really happy to be back. Really amazing to see all the fans here and everything, and see that Hearthstone's still going really strong.
Oh, that's wonderful. Any words for the top 8 players this year? I mean, they have some big shoes to fill.
Yeah, I definitely want to wish them the best of luck, but most importantly, I really hope this experience for them is able to change their lives as much as it was able to change mine.
That's beautiful. Firebat, do you have any plans for 2016?
Definitely going to be still playing a lot more Hearthstone, trying to come back stronger. Definitely going to be coming back for this title, so whoever takes it this year better look out.
And do you have any idea who our champion might be? Is there anyone that you would predict to be our 2015 Hearthstone World Champion?
Well, I think everybody has a shot, but if I had to pick one person, I would have to say Thijs. He's been on fire lately. He's been doing well in every tournament, and I think he might be able to take this one.
Fantastic. Thanks for the insight, Firebat. And with that, we're ready to kick things off. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to BlizzCon 2015.
Greetings and well met. Welcome from the Anaheim Convention Center in Southern California. It is time to begin the round of 8 for the Hearthstone World Championships in 2015. My name is Frode and I'm joined by Savitz and Brian Kibler to bring you guys the action, starting with Thijs versus Kranich. Kibler, what's it like being here at BlizzCon 2015 after that amazing opening ceremony?
I mean, BlizzCon is always an incredible experience. I've actually been to, I think, 5 or 6 BlizzCons, all the way back to the very first one. It just keeps getting bigger and more awesome, and it's tremendous to be a part of it in this way.
And Savitz, I don't believe I've seen you at BlizzCon yet. Is this your first BlizzCon?
Yeah, it is, and I'm enjoying myself so much here. League of Explorers coming next Thursday.
Next Thursday,
What?
next week, it's so soon.
I can build Golden Monkey decks so soon.
Well, you may be able to see the result of it, whether or not it works out. We'll definitely see when the time comes. In the meantime, we're going to enjoy ourselves with 8 players who are fighting for the right to call themselves the 2015 Hearthstone World Champion. I don't know exactly who is going to be the one coming in here as the overwhelming favorite, but if there's one person that you have to be anticipating, it's Thijs coming in here from G2, being as one of the guys to take it all.
Yeah, Thijs is a player who has been on an incredible run of late, just like Firebat just said, and he comes in with a very strong lineup, in particular against aggressive decks. He really, I think, wants to take down Kranich sort of as revenge for beating his teammate Life Coach, and I think he has a good chance to do it.
Right, yeah. Savitz, what about the other side of guys like facing off against Thijs? How much of a shot do you think he has?
He definitely has. Bringing the same lineup as Firebat did last year, and he ended up being the world champion. But I still have to give the edge to Thijs. I feel like he's one step ahead on the picks.
All right, well, with a lot to be said and done with these 2 players coming up. But before we go into the match, we had a chance to sit down with Thijs and Kranich to get their thoughts going into the match here on the main stage.
My next opponent is Thijs. People think that he's the most fearsome player, but I think I will win against him because I'm the best. I can win against anyone.
Yeah, this is actually the first time I meet Kranich, so I don't know much about him, but he seems to be an awesome person, actually. He's kind of a troll sometimes, and yeah, you can actually laugh with him.
I played against Life Coach and crushed him 2 times. He's knocked out from this tournament. This time, it will be Thijs who will be eliminated.
Life Coach is out. I also want to win against Kranich just for him. I saw him playing, and I think he played really well, so it's going to be a hard match.
Thijs said that he respects me, but I don't really believe him. I am just pretty confident against him that I will just crush him.
For me, winning BlizzCon will mean a lot. Just being the world champion is something I could not even dream of. I'm really going for it. I'm super motivated.
Kranich versus Thijs.
All right, 2 players on stage. Only one will move on to the semifinals. Will it be last year's semifinalist finisher, Kranich, the only player to make back-to-back BlizzCon appearances, or will it be Thijs, a player who's been on the verge of world stardom? Can it be his time right here, right now?
Yeah, we've talked a lot about the incredible run that Thijs has been on, but I do think that the fact that Kranich is a returning player from last year's round of 4. You know, he was the only player to make it from last year's BlizzCon to this year, and I think the sort of hype around that has gotten a little bit I don't know, diminished by just how impressive Thijs' run has been.
Yeah, it's incredible to see Kranich back here another year in a row. Last year, top 4, that's nothing to be ashamed of. And this year, his focus is going all the way, getting the #1 prize.
Yeah, that's right. Last year, Kranich told us that he felt very content with just hitting the top 4. He beat Kalento to get to the round of 4 in the quarterfinals. That was an impressive performance. But he said because he was so satisfied, he got less focused and didn't even really care too much. And after the series was over, he had a lot of regret, saying, I definitely want to compete better than that.
That's definitely a risk when players who are not necessarily familiar playing at sort of top-level competitive play, when they do reach a result that feels good to them, they sort of rest on their laurels a bit. But I think that both he and Thijs, they're not resting on anything. They want to win.
That's right.
Yeah, Thijs definitely playing to win. He's not playing second place or top 8. He's going to take the risks that he has to get the win. And after talking with Thijs, that's all he really cares about. He has brought the Priest. He's the only Priest player in the tournament. That's a brave play, if you ask me.
Well, I was talking to him a little bit before the match, and he actually felt like his Priest deck was probably the strongest in this particular match, at least. We are into the first game. It is not Priest for Thijs. He is playing his Freeze Mage deck against Kranich playing Warlock.
Wow, excellent opportunity for Thijs right here. This is exactly what he wanted. He wanted to play that mage against the Warlock from Kranich. He didn't want to see the Druid.
I believe that Thijs feels like this is his strongest matchup for his Mage deck. The Freeze Mage deck able to use a lot of early removal, early freeze effects to neutralize a lot of the damage the Warlock is able to do, and then ultimately punish the Warlock for their use of life tap by just burning them out late in the game.
Yeah, it's exactly what he said backstage before the match, that this is the matchup that he wants. Druid, almost impossible. Hunter, 50-50, but against the Warlock, he has an edge.
And this could be one of the weak points. We've seen Freeze Mage, even though it's one of the most consistent decks in the metagame because you're able to draw through most of your deck very consistently. The problem is sometimes it does defeat itself with the draws. Purple, for example, a player who fished in the top 12 and a favorite to maybe win it all, was a victim of this exact scenario where he drew too much of his situational cards and didn't have enough to stay alive.
This is a reasonable opening hand for Thijs, though. He wants to use that Frostbolt for removal. He has that opportunity. And even an early Doomsayer is not a bad play, even without freeze effects, against a lot of these Warlock decks. You're often able to just at least absorb a bunch of damage, if not wipe your opponent's board.
But Kranich on the other side also drawing to the nuts. That's as good as it gets. Getting a turn 1 flaming, followed by turn 2 knife juggler. That's absolutely perfect. There's no way to put more pressure on early than these two minions.
And that's Kranich's goal here, really, is to put as much pressure as possible while trying to play around Thijs's board wipe effects as well as he can. A couple of the cards we see in his hand will be crucial in that. Nerubian Egg and Haunted Creeper are minions he can develop sort of in the middle turns of the game that if Thijs does play something like Doomsayer plus Frost Nova, are able to stay on the board with pressure.
Absolutely, those help because you don't want to overextend too much, but those are the minions that you can play and you want to play into those AoE spells.
Yeah, because those two minions, they do have Death Rattle. When they die, they leave something behind. In the case of the Creeper, it's 2/1/1, but in the case of the Egg, it's a 4/4. So it gets bigger.
All right, well, Thijs does want to end up drawing cards early on. You have to always manage the risk of whether or not you're taking too much damage, but 4 power onto the board doesn't seem like too much here, so I anticipate that Thijs will be looking to find a way to draw. The only alternative is if he feels like he needs to try to be really defensive if this is too much damage to take.
He does choose to play the Arcane Intellect. To dig him a little bit deeper, we do see him pick up that Frost Nova off the Arcane Intellect there, which will leave him with the opening to potentially play that Frost Nova plus Doomsayer plan, even next turn with the coin.
Yep, no need for the Ice Block yet, so the Arcane Intellect makes a lot of sense. Getting that combo off as soon as he can. Oh, there's the Iron Beak Owl for Kranich from the top, so if Thijs was to go for that play, Kranich would have the answer for it.
Yeah, the silence effects from Iron Beak Owl, one of the best ways the Warlock deck does have to deal with the Frost Nova plus Doomsayer. Silence in the Doomsayer means that it will not go off and destroy all the minions in play.
That's right. Kranich also taps into Voidwalker. I mean, these cards are very good to set up a strong board for good trades, but that's not necessarily what you're going to be doing against a Freeze Mage, which is just stalling the board, not really even playing many minions. When they do, it's just weak minions to draw cards or big finishers like that Antonidas.
So the Egg does come down, which again doesn't really increase Kranich's clock significantly. He still only has 4 damage on the board, but it does give him a little bit of an insurance policy if Thijs were to play some kind of board clearing effect.
Yeah, and Kranich does have a lot of burst in his hand with the Power Overwhelming and Doom card. With 6 mana, he has 9 direct damage from his hand.
Yeah, generally, the inability of the Warlock deck to do much burst, we haven't seen much actual direct damage like, say, Soulfire or Dark Bomb in most aggressive Warlock decks these days. So they do rely on the burst damage from Doomguard to finish opponents off.
Absolutely, and it's crucial in this matchup.
Well, Thijs still going to look for ways to draw cards. He's still not under the most threat. Again, 4 power is not the most damage that you usually anticipate your opponent with big plays around turns 4 or 5. He doesn't see cards like Void Caller either, potentially threatening huge demons on the other side of it.
And the coin from Thijs used there just to allow himself to use his hero power to ping his Acolyte of Pain. So he really recognizes that what he wants to be doing right now is digging as deep into his deck as possible to find solutions to Kranich's board while he has the time.
Cards like Ice Barrier and Mad Scientist would also be excellent. Those would buy him more time, those style. When your opponent has less than 8 power on the board, an Ice Barrier effectively negates 1 turn of attacks.
Yeah. And in this situation, the Freeze Mage deck is primarily trying to buy time. If the game goes longer, generally speaking, the Freeze Mage deck will be significantly advantaged because they're able to piece together their combo, which is very difficult for the Warlock to deal with.
Ooh, another Nova for Thijs.
Here's an interesting thought. If Kranich plays another minion, he chose not to, but he would have had too many minions for Iron Beagle to actually drop onto the Doomsayer. So this is a very heads-up play from Kranich, even though generally, yeah, you do want to load up as many minions as you can, keeps his options open.
Yeah, so Kranich, he had that extra mana opening, could have played that Voidwalker in his hand, but chooses not to. Definitely a heads-up play there. And Thijs, now, he does have the opportunity to potentially use Frost Nova plus Doomsayer. Kranich does have the Iron Beak Owl, but Thijs even has, if he wanted to, a second follow-up Frost Nova plus Doomsayer. Looks like he's just going to go with the Ice Barrier, however. The fact that Kranich's board is actually 7 power, and if he did wipe the board, the 2 Death Rattle effects would leave 6 power in play.
Right.
Makes it a lot less attractive to blow everything up.
That is true. It kind of does prevent Kranich from playing another wave of minions, but he doesn't need to. And Thijs just going with that Ice Barrier here seems like a strong play. By the way, I also wanted to point out that Flame Imp has actually delivered 4 punches to Thijs' face.
That's 12 damage.
12 damage for 1 man,
Yeah.
and it's still on the board.
And that is a reasonable deal as far as that's concerned.
Well, Kranich going to activate this Ice Barrier and reevaluate how he wants to go about it. He definitely doesn't want to necessarily always trade into Thalnos, even though the spell power does exist. The drawback of these kinds of attacks is that your opponent draws a card preemptively instead of trading. However, leaving it on the board is also really risky because of what Thanos can do with spell power if you drop minions that have high health.
If Kranich does want to play, say, the Void Walker in his hand, he would likely want to remove the minion as he just did, because the spell power would allow something like Blizzard to just kill it.
Yeah.
So otherwise, there's not really that much would matter with what he has currently in play, but definitely could influence how resilient his future minions could be. Like, it looks like a Void Call is coming down right now.
I'm not exactly sure if that life tap was necessary there. Now, in case the Void Caller died, there's a chance that the Doom card would not pop out.
He already had the Void Walker in his hand, so there's still a 50% chance that it would.
Yeah, it's true, but he could have played it out of his hand instead of playing the life tap.
Yeah, that's absolutely.
Thijs with 3 freeze AoE spells in his hand right now. Wow.
It's really powerful just to keep freezing the board, and as you said at the very beginning of the game, Brian, that the Warlock will naturally lower his own health through life taps, through even Flame Imps damaging himself. So a lot of these things like Fireball can be used to remove minions directly, even though traditionally you want to save it, so that way you can finish off your opponent through a burst point combo.
Yeah, and right now we see Thijs he has all those freezes, and he has a bunch of burn spells. He could use his removal in his hand, but there's not many great options for him to kill. He can kill the Flame Imp. That's the only thing that if he kills takes a significant amount of damage off the board. If he does play, say, Blizzard or Frost Nova and Doomsayer, there's actually just going to still be a lot of threat on Kranich's side thanks to the 3 Death Rattle minions on his board.
Yeah, he actually has the Doomsayer Nova times 2.
Yep.
So even if this gets silenced right here, he's still gonna get another shot.
And it's interesting, you have to wonder as well, it's possible that Kranich may decide not to silence this because he does have such powerful Death Rattle effects on him as well.
I would probably just let that Doomsayer go off. Well, what's the problem with it? So many minions coming.
There aren't that many targets that you might want to Iron Beak Owl. You could potentially Iron Beak Owl. Well, obviously another Doomsayer for the second wave of minions, but most of the other minions in the Freeze Mage deck, we've already seen one of the Acolyte of Pains. Mad Scientist is another one that the silence effect is fairly effective against, but primarily you'd like to target Doomsayer with.
Absolutely.
I do like the idea of also, assuming he had another silence in his deck, using it to unfreeze minions. That way you can attack to the final points of damage. Those are all powerful ways. Kranich does choose to use the Iron Beak Owl, but that is a full board, meaning if Thijs chose to go for another clear opportunity, then that would set up a much cleaner opportunity for next turns to set up Alexstrasza, an Ice Block, and Tandem, and then try to even go for an opportunity to be aggressive.
That looks pretty good to me. I mean, if he went for it once, why would he not go for it again? Maybe to save it for later. How much would the Blizzard accomplish? It would leave up a 4/4 and 2 1/1s.
Yeah, and the Void Caller would still be damaged in play. But it would be frozen, so it wouldn't be able to attack immediately.
That's right. With the 2 remaining mana, he does have the option to drop Loot Hoarder as well to set up potential another freeze on the board or something else better, or even draw a card depending on how things go.
Yep, that is true, and I would expect him to go for it. Because you do want to cycle that. In this matchup, or hardly in any matchups, you want to use the Loot Hoarder to deal damage. It's just there to thin your deck, to throw into those combo pieces faster.
See, I wonder if he's debating not playing Doomsayer and perhaps saving it to go with Blizzard in a future turn.
That could be it.
That would be quite shocking, I would say.
I would be surprised by that.
Because
he
has the loot hoarder on board now. So he's saying that I would use this to combine with Blizzard and make sure that I can get a really good one off next turn.
Yeah, but it does bring some issues, because there will be some minions for Kranich after going for the Doomsayer Blizzard, and when those minions get buffed, the board clear won't happen anymore.
One of the things that's so strong about the board freeze plus Doomsayer is that your opponent really doesn't have the option to play anything else to the board, because it will just immediately die in your turn. And the fact that Kranich has a full board now and can't possibly play something like a Doomguard and use a Power Overwhelming to get rid of that Doomsayer, so it's guaranteed pretty much that it goes off, makes that a very opportune moment for it, but it looks like Thijs is trying to find a better spot.
Yep.
Well, Kranich only has one way to deal with this loot hoarder if he wants to prevent trades, which is the Implosion, but Implosion won't summon any more imps, even if it did the maximum amount of damage.
8 cards in a Zoo Warlock's hand. How often do you see that? It's just gonna Implosion to get rid of that loot hoarder.
All right, Mad Scientist coming into hand. Very useful. Another piece of damage.
Ooh.
How much damage can Thijs just do right now? If he has Fireball and double Ice Lance, that's only 10, so not quite able to actually finish Kranich off.
But if he something a little bit more.
Yeah, if he did find a Frostbolt, he would actually just have lethal damage right now.
Yeah. Would it be over 2 turns though? But still, yeah, because he needs some squeezing one ping in there. So, but he could go for an Ice Block and just cast one Fireball or so. But right now, looking at this board state, we're probably gonna see the Doomsayer Blizzard.
The thing about Blizzard Doomsayer is, like you said, at least 5 power on board, and there's some free spots due to minions, so there's a very high likelihood that your opponent should be able to kill off that Doomsayer, even if you played that Blizzard.
It is true, but do you mind it dying that much? Is it a problem? Oh, he is going for an Ice Block here, wants to set it up.
Wow. Maybe he feels like he can't actually die if he just plays this slow.
It's an interesting situation because Kranich actually has no space on his board to play that Doom God. So Kranich probably won't be able to pop the Ice Block here.
Yeah, so Thijs here is really trying to leave Kranich in a situation where he's just not able to play anything else. The full 7 minions on the board makes it very difficult for Kranich to push much more damage or really utilize any of the cards in his hand.
Yeah.
That's right.
If only he had one more space, then he could play the Doom God as well and get rid of the Dice Block. But no, as it is, he only has 11 power on the board right now. So with the Power Overwhelming, it would be a total of 15, which is a little bit short.
Yeah. I do like some of the setups that Thijs is going for too. It seems like if he can get a guaranteed like he can live for next turn. He can even set up to have multiple fireballs by playing Antonidas and Ice Lancing twice, and then potentially staying alive to just fireball his opponent, which will be at 17 or 18 health. That should be enough firepower because this deck, outside of Mal'Ganis, doesn't really have a way to stop that kind of attack.
Yeah, absolutely. And Thijs does have next turn. He can play, like you said, that Archmage Antonidas, the pair of Ice Lances. He could play both of them at his opponent's face, which actually would put his opponent to 12, correct? No.
You're right.
So.
Oh, it actually
would be
13.
13, rather. Sorry, yeah.
Hero power.
Yeah, he does need the hero power to actually get it through. So yeah, he would be 1 damage off lethal the following turn with fireballs if he did play that Antonidas. So.
Oh my goodness.
Is that just it?
It's exactly lethal,
Fireball,
I believe.
Frostbolt is 9. 2 Ice Lances.
Precisely 17.
Yeah, it's exactly 17 damage. So
yeah, Thijs making the connections.
He's just counting it up. He wants to be very, very sure, but that Frostbolt off the top is gonna send game 1 Thijs' way.
That's a huge win for Thijs, being able to win the matchup that he wanted. If this ended up passing through, it would have been a very dangerous situation. So a very strong win to start off for our Dutchman.
Yeah, mages have struggled at times, but Thijs getting that mage out of the way straight away takes 1-0 lead.
Yeah, the Freeze Mage deck is one that a number of players did bring to this event, and it was the downfall for some of them. We were just saying, Purple, the America's champion, he did struggle to find a win against Pim Ping Ho, but we saw Thijs able to pull that one out pretty decisively.
That's right, and I think it's a really important win, just like you mentioned, Savitz, not because you want to start off the series with a win, I mean, that's always nice, but you were mentioning that at the very beginning, their matchups, the way they would line up after this game would be really hard for that Freeze Mage to win. So Thijs' strategy coming to fruition, but it definitely looked a little scary at times there, don't you think?
Yeah, it seemed like it was a close one. Kranich had that burst in his hand, but he just never got to use it. He had a lot of problems with that full board, and masterful play from Thijs to just keep the board like it was.
They just kept everything just in play, not even necessarily frozen for a bunch of turns. Just
right.
He let him attack. It's fine. Do what you want. You're dead.
Yeah, great resource management from Thijs, and he starts off 1-0 over Kranich, who's looking to make a repeat performance in the top 4. Even though he's down 0-1, he'll be back. Right after this, we're going to get to know Kranich a little bit better with this quick interview.
Hey, my name is Kranich and I'm playing for Team Dignitas and I represent Korea and I'm the one and only player who made it back-to-back to BlizzCon. Generally, people think that I'm a funny guy and I just play Hearthstone for fun, but to be honest, I'm a pretty serious guy. I just take all things serious in Hearthstone scene because I have like infinite desire in my mind to win everything in Hearthstone scene. So this time, I just really want to win this one. Even though I had pretty hard time in Korean scene this year, my desire to win a tournament was real. Even though the result wasn't that good enough, I just tried to remind my dream and my goal. That's what carried me to be a better player and to do well in BlizzCon qualifier. When I lost my semi-final match last year, to be honest, I was pretty satisfied with my result because it was my first time to play at BlizzCon, and semi-final was actually really good result for a Korean player. Korean scene is actually a little bit small, and we cannot really say something negative to the other guys because we always face each other. It feels a bit awkward. Even though I made it to be BlizzCon 2 years in a row, I don't think Korean fans and players respect me. And at some point, I felt really bad about that, but to be honest, I have some kind of anger in my mind that I really want to prove myself in tournaments. The esports in Korea is pretty serious. Like, if you play really bad in tournament, you'll be really punished by esports fans. Well, most of the players are really under pressure. Last year I qualified to BlizzCon and I felt something really different from the Korean tournament, because in case of foreign tournaments, compared to Korean tournaments, it's really kind of relaxed and the players have some kind of fun. There are 15 BlizzCon noobs this year. Yeah, it might be really harsh time for them. My goal is to win these tournaments, so I'll just beat every single strong players with my weird combo, weird cards, I guess. Now I realize that getting satisfied with result is really dangerous in tournaments, because I think last year was a huge chance for me to win BlizzCon, but I failed because I was satisfied and I just played bad. This time, I will never do that again.
All right, fighting for another chance at redemption, getting so close to being potentially the world champion of 2014. Kranich looks to try to set his sights on the big prize for 2015. What do you guys think about after that pretty long, in-depth sit-down with Kranich? His journey is quite spectacular in the Hearthstone World Championships.
I mean, he is, as we said, the only player returning from last year's BlizzCon, and despite that result, he was saying he doesn't really feel like he has the respect of Korean fans. It sounds like it's pretty rough over there.
Yeah, Hearthstone in Korea is maybe not the most popular game, but it is still one of the big ones, and Kranich is the face of Korean players.
All right, well, we'll see if he can turn around. We're going to queue up Druid versus the Priest. This is the only Priest featured in the entire round of 16 for the tournament. And he's gotten here to the round of 8. Kranich on the other side, he has his weird combos and tech cards that he was mentioning. One of them being that mind control tech that we see in the Druid.
Yeah, that's actually a card that frequently is not strong against a lot of Priest decks, but the way that Dragon Priest plays out, and specifically the way that Thijs's Dragon Priest is built, it could be a reasonable card for him to draw at some point in this matchup. Thijs is playing a lot of cheap minions. He has not only the 2 Twilight Whelps, 2 Northshire Clay, and speaking of a lot of cheap minions, that's quite the inexpensive hand from Thijs.
That sure is a lot of cheap minions.
That's what you want early on, primarily because the Priest needs to use its hero power on something, otherwise it'll just stay at maximum 30 health. That's one of the biggest criticisms against this class, but Thijs doesn't have that problem, at least for now.
Yeah, but Kranich has an excellent opening hand himself. He has Innervate, Coin, and 2 Shades. So Kranich has the opening to play Shade on turn 1, then another Shade in turn 2. Those are very difficult minions for the Priest deck to deal with because the Priest deck is built around dealing with the opponent's minions by attacking with his own minions. So he'll have a lot of difficulty keeping those shades from growing out of control.
Yeah, considering the type of list that Thijs is playing is the Dragon Priest, so there are no Orkney Soul Priests or Circle of Healings. The only real way to deal with those shades would be a Light Bomb, and I believe Thijs was playing one,
yeah,
but that would only come on turn 6.
Yeah, Thijs does have a Light Bomb in his deck, but it would need to come pretty quickly in order for him to be able to deal with those shades before they got really big.
Yeah, and there's the first shade coming down on turn 1. Certainly not something Thijs wanted to see.
No, considering that shade will be able to kill off the Northshire Cleric next turn, and that might force Thijs to do something a little bit more board-centric, just playing Zombie Chow. The problem with this is that you can't even kill that shade after it reveals itself. A lot of times you can usually answer it, but in this case, it'll just kill a minion for free.
I mean, Thijs could play Zombie Chow and Cleric this turn and could use 2 of those, including the Zombie Chow, to actually kill the Shade if Kranich does choose to reveal it. But even in that case, Kranich has a second copy of Shade of Nexramas waiting for him as well.
Yeah, I don't think the Cleric into Zombie Chow is too good here, but it's the only play he has, and I would expect him to go for it, because it's just... What else you do? Just let the Cleric die and pass. And,
yeah.
So we are going to see the Zombie Chow.
He does choose to keep the second Cleric in his hand, though. He does have the tools right now on board to contest that Shade if it were to attack into one of those minions. So it looks like he decides to hold on to the second Cleric to try and at least get perhaps a card draw off of it later in the game.
Yeah, the Priest decks sometimes struggle with the card draws, and Cleric is the main engine to get those cards fast or to get them at all, because there are no Thought Stills in this deck. So and there's the Wrath, and both of Thijs' 1-drops go down.
Dark Cultist was exactly what Thijs wanted to draw this turn. It gives him a minion that actually will allow him to contest that Shade. He can potentially even just trade with it straight up. He will be at 3 health next turn, and then potentially buff another minion he could play. So if Thijs picks up a Dragon next turn, that he can play that Twilight Guardian and then buff the Guardian with the ability from Dark Cultist when trading into Shade, that'll be a really, really good play for him.
Yeah, that's right. The Twilight Guardian doesn't count itself when you're including its Battle Cry effect. It has to have another dragon in addition to it, whether a second Twilight Guardian or another dragon altogether. But then the problem with playing that Twilight Guardian, if you want to follow the curve, is that then you have nothing for Blackwing Corrupted the following turn.
Right.
And this is a drawback that some dragon decks struggle with sometimes.
But Kranich does, he decides he doesn't want to risk that buff going anywhere, and that was Dragon.
There's a dragon.
Perfect timing. Thijs wanted to draw exactly what I always want to draw, which is a dragon.
That's right.
Right on time, yes, Sarah. Not necessarily what you want to draw on turn 4 most of the time, but perfect in this spot. And Twilight Guardian comes into play. 3/6 taunt, which is really pretty strong against that Darnassus Aspirant, but Kranich does have a couple of big minions that are more difficult for deal with in his hand.
Yeah, and with that coin, he could coin out one of those 6-drops. I actually find it really interesting that Kranich chose to go for the Darnassus Aspirant over the Shade of Naxxramas, since he did have 3 mana on the previous turn.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's also that he can set up a really powerful play like this. Sylvanas will make it very awkward for Thijs to be able to trade in the next couple turns. He did choose to go for that instead of Emperor Thorson, though. That Shadow Word Death also opens up his options the following turn.
Yeah, Sylvanas is one of the most powerful cards against Dragon Priest. Dragon Priest is a deck that's very built around establishing a strong board presence with multiple mid-game large minions, and that's exactly the situation where Sylvanas is best. Your opponent is forced to use their resources, use their minions to kill Sylvanas, and then she just steals another one.
It seems to be kind of paying off to play that Aspirant over the Shade, even though it was a surprising move from Kranich. He had it all planned out.
Yeah, this has allowed him to get the Sylvanas into play faster, which is really making Thijs' life difficult. If he does play the Blackwing Corruptor, he could potentially attack into the Sylvanas, finish it up with Corruptor, but then Kranich still's a minion. He can kill the Darnassus Aspirant, but that doesn't really give him a great position to deal with the Sylvanas as well.
Yeah, the Corruptor will only get him into trouble. I really like this play from Thijs. He does need those cards, and after the heal, the Drake is still going to be at 6 HP, which means that the Sylvanas alone cannot kill it in one turn.
Yeah.
But then how do you deal with Sylvanas on the following turn anyways? Are you going to trade your Cleric in and then not develop a minion yourself? This is the dangerous path that Thijs did. By floating 2 mana, he's choosing a very defensive approach.
Well, if Sylvanas were to attack the Twilight Guardian, Thijs could potentially just trade both his minions into Sylvanas, though that Sludge Belcher that Kranich has picked up might make that a difficult proposition as well.
Yeah, Thijs could potentially have traded those minions into the next minion that Kranich plays, and then Shadow over Death off the Sylvanas. Here, if Kranich is to go for that Belcher, it seems like Thijs is going to be drawing more cards, so would maybe attack with the Sylvanas and Hero Power Shade be stronger play? Or would that play into Nova too much?
I mean, it definitely is the strongest play on the board right now. It does make you vulnerable to Holy Nova, but if Thijs were to Holy Nova, it would kill the Sylvanas, and Thijs would not really be able to establish, keep a board presence because at least one of the minions would be stolen.
Right, plus it'll take almost all of his entire mana for the following turn. Kranich decides to play the Sludge Belcher and attack, and this will set up a lot of board tensions. Whatever you play next, I could be able to steal it.
Cabal's Shadow Priest, not super exciting right here, not at its best in this matchup either. There often are very few small minions the Druids play that you can steal. You certainly don't want to steal Darnassus Aspirant and have your own mana crystals killed.
Sure.
Yeah. That doesn't work out so well. Here, a few options. He could try to draw some extra cards from that Drake before trading it in. Maybe to trade both of his minions, go for the Shadow over Death. Is there a play with the Corruptor?
He could attack and clear off the Sludge Belch with Corruptor, but that will just allow...
Yeah, the problem with the Corruptor seems to be that he only has 6 mana this turn, so you can't fit a very good play by healing and drawing a card and using the Corruptor, and then the Sylvanas might end up betraying you there.
Well, he could finish off the Sludge Belcher, use the Corruptor to kill that, and then he would only have 1 minion in play if he did just send his Cleric in to die, which would put Kranich in a position where he wouldn't at least get value out of the Sylvanas. But looks like Thijs might be trying to draw a card here. Yeah. Well, it's definitely a tough spot. No, he is just gonna finish it off.
Well, one thing he can do is if the North Star Cleric gets stolen, he can take it right back with the Cabal.
That's true. That is true. Yeah, this does enable Thijs to get potentially a target for that Shadow Priest if Kranich goes for the pretty obvious attack my Sylvanas into your thing, steal the Cleric, and develop more to his board.
If Kranich had a Wrath, he could potentially had attack into the Cleric and then Wrath his own Sylvanas for 1 and take that bigger minion, but as it is, he doesn't have it. Well, he could go for a play with the Keeper, but you kind of want to save the Keeper for something else, potentially.
Yeah, Keeper is pretty powerful, but I mean, being able to steal a 5-power minion is also pretty powerful.
It is.
Yeah, I think in terms of developing the most on the board, you can play Emperor Thorson, but the hand that you reduce is not exactly like the best type of hand that you want. However, I do think taking this 5/4 is just really powerful.
Yeah, I think that this is a pretty good spot for that Keeper just killing his own Sylvanas. No, he just chooses not to.
Wow. Okay. Well, this does end up introducing really interesting play here for Thijs, because he does have a couple things he can do to this.
Thijs can potentially Cabal the Slime and then kill off Emperor Thorson. Keep letting Thorson stay in play for multiple turns is always really scary.
And what's interesting, too, is that this Power Word Shield also had a couple of implications, too.
Yeah.
Interesting. I was thinking, is there any kind of world where you can use Power Word Shield like on Sylvanas so it couldn't trade itself into the 1/1? Is that too fancy stuff or what?
It's pretty fancy. I don't know if you're gonna see that here. The Shadow over Death seems fairly obvious on the Emperor. What else? But the Cabal, I don't think it works out so well here.
Well, if he does just death the Emperor and just clear the minion, then he can choose not to heal his Corruptor, and then the Sylvanas will only be able to potentially trade directly into it. But that's a situation where the Keeper or a Wrath would also be very strong.
Goes for the second Power Shield, hoping to pick up something more he can play. Gets a Corruptor. That's a great card to have, but right now he won't have the mana to cast it this time.
And here, Thijs just loading up his Corruptor here with Powered Shields. And I would not be surprised to see Kranich, he could even just attack into the Corruptor and steal it, though that does leave it open to dying to the second Corruptor that is in Thijs' hand.
Yep, I think it's kind of tempting to take the 5-8 here. Just saw one Shadow over Death come down. So having that 5-8, the chances for it to live multiple hands are pretty high.
Boy's gonna drop it and take the 5-8, and that's gonna force more resources out of Thijs to use Shadow over Death. And there, you did mention that Light Bomb could be a key, but it wouldn't even be that impactful onto the board. It only killed one minion.
Yeah, the 5-8, thanks to Thijs buffing it up. It's like, oh, I'll just take that guy. Thanks for all your work making him powerful.
Oh, Shrinkmeister, but it doesn't quite get the job done with the Cabal on that Corruptor. It would still be at 3 power.
That is potentially very strong for the Azure Drake we see waiting in Kranich's hand.
Oh yeah, but it's also hard to pass up on the Cabal right here on the Keeper.
Well, he does have the Shadow Word Death.
That is true. So
it's possible that he would prefer casting the Shadow Word Death to clear that off the board now.
Yeah, most Druid lists don't really run many things that would be bigger than that 5-8. So it does deal that 8 damage for 3 mana, which is quite powerful.
Pretty much the only thing that he'd be more scared of would be Dr. Boom.
Yeah, that's more scary, but I don't think you want to play around it. It probably would have been played from Kranich's side on the previous turn.
Yes.
Okay, well, Blackwing Corruptor does give him the biggest minion on board, force Kranich into potentially killing it or having to use something like Swipe to remove.
And here, Thijs is recognizing that his deck is not just purely a control deck. A lot of players would just try and wait, get something to kill with that Blackwing Corruptor, but it's important for a deck like Dragon Priest to play to the board. You need to play for board presence and tempo in a lot of situations, especially against a deck like Druid.
Yep. Kranich picking up his first combo piece in the Force of Nature, only needing the Roar right now to have that burst damage from his hand.
Yeah, and with the Shadownax Ram is sitting there, that can combine with the Force Nature and Savage Roar to end the game pretty much almost at any moment, as long as you are within the 20 to 22 range and you have that Shade continue to grow. It's a scary proposition for the Priest if Druid starts drawing more cards.
Yeah, it's so hard to remove right now. And eventually it will add that extra 6 or so damage to the combo. What Thijs can do is he can try to clear the other minions and then maybe play a taunt. That would slow Kranich down a little bit. Doesn't have that just yet.
Valen's chosen not really exactly what Thijs is looking for here. I have to imagine we'll see the Shrinkmeister shrink the Azure Drake, making it a 2-attack minion, which allows him to take it with the Cabal Shadow.
Let me change your mind.
But that does play into mind control tech.
As you were saying earlier, usually not necessarily the best card against Priest decks, but here Thijs with 4 minions in play,
he could get the spell power. He could actually get the spell power for the full clear with the swipe.
That's right.
That would be
hit the Drake.
Not this time.
That would have been disastrous for the Priest player, and Kranich would have taken a commanding lead.
This is still a strong position for Kranich here. He can use that swipe to potentially clear his own traitorous Drake, and then use his hero power to take down the Shrinkmeister, leaving Thijs with just the 4-4.
Yeah, Thijs really destroying this light bomb as soon as possible.
And Thijs is really particularly scared of just getting his health continually whittled down here and being in combo range. We know that Kranich only has the Force of Nature, but Thijs has got to be thinking, you know, when is this combo coming?
That's right, and it'll always be a threat too, because Kranich has half of it, so even if your opponent has 1 or 2 cards, it's in the back of your mind. Kranich going for an attack just in case he did draw a Light Bomb.
Nova's very strong here with the Valen's Chosen spell power.
Oh my goodness!
He can actually Thijs can actually Valen's Chosen up
get a
his
full
Cabal.
clear.
Yeah, and then because Kranich chose to attack with that Shade, he can attack into the Shade and destroy it. Then use Holy Nova to wipe the rest of the board. This is huge.
Oh no, attacking with the Shade got Kranich into a lot of trouble here.
And the heal from Holy Nova and the heal on himself is going to keep Thijs out of range of combo here. He's going to go up to 19 life.
This is a bad position for our Druid player. Thijs able to deal with the board that Kranich essentially was all in on. He would need to draw something more off the top of his deck. Ancient of Lore is what he's going to be looking for here.
And Thijs, he chooses to use his hero power on his minion instead, which protects it from even clear on Force of Nature. But there's the good doctor, definitely keeping Kranich in the game.
Yeah, definitely. Now there's 3 minions on the board that Thijs would have to clear to make sure that he's not within range of the Force Nature Savage Roar.
Both Shadow over Deaths are spent from Thijs' side, so he doesn't even have the option to, or the potential to draw into any more of those. That Dr. Boom is going to give him a hard time.
So I think Thijs is probably recognizing here there's nothing he can do to win this game if Kranich does have Force of Nature and Savage Roar. He can't. If Kranich plays these Boombots, that Ysera Awakens can actually just wipe his entire board. Wow. He has a 6/7 minion. Dr. Boom's down to 3 health. Ysera Awakens. Oh, that's even better.
That is a perfect board answer to the board, at least for now, with potential implications afterwards, depending on what comes out of these Shredders.
Yeah, so the Holy Nova will kill all of Kranich's minions. The Death Rattle from the Shredders will put two cost minions in play. Thijs could potentially mop him up with his minion or even just with Ysera Awakens.
That spell power from the Valence chosen, absolutely huge. But looks like he might even play the Drake here.
Yeah, the Drake gives him just more damage onto the Holy Nova, which he's going to play anyways. Oh! That's really awkward.
The Silent Assassin! Silent Assassin with stealth, not a minion Thijs can clear with his board here.
Well, he could have, in the sense that if he attacked with the minion first, this minion that pops out of the Shredder would have been killed by the AoE effect. And instead, this Patient Assassin, because it came out of the right order, ends up challenging whatever minion it wants to kill.
That is amazing.
So then...
Actual trade with underneath the floor from the top. Excellent card for Kranich right now.
Yeah, I mean, he was running pretty low on resources, looking to try and assemble that combo. Patient Assassin does take out the gigantic Cabal Shadow Priest, but now we're kind of at parity again. Thijs does have that Ysera Awakens, sort of the ace of his sleeve at this point. Ooh, Valen's chosen.
Nice.
That is an excellent draw for Thijs. Again, allows him to remove the Ancient and leave himself with a strong minion in play.
So he's going to play the Agent just as a 1/4 without the taunt. Doesn't do much, but still he can't really know when he will draw into those dragons. And a lot of the dragons are also already played.
This will allow Thijs to potentially chip away at Kranich's health, as well as give him something that could contest some small minions on the board with the help of the either Ysera Awakens or the Azure.
Yep, looks like Kranich is getting aggressive here. Plays those two Druid of the Claws both in charge mode and just goes for the base.
Yeah, so here Kranich trying to set up the ability to win the game next turn with Force of Nature if he does draw Savage Roar.
I believe he succeeded just as the board is, because there's no way for Thijs to clear both of this.
Thijs can only use Ysera Awakens here to clear the board, but that will deal damage to him and leave him in range of Kranich's damage combo in hand.
Not to mention no board either, so even if he was able to stay alive, he doesn't have a fighting chance against whatever the Druid play on the following turn.
Yeah.
And that just spells game over for Thijs.
So Thijs is, you know, he's trying to play this as if maybe still have a shot, you know? It's not over till it's over when you're in the position of the player actually in the game. But we know that doesn't really look like Thijs has any options here that'll win him the game.
Yeah, Thijs is an experienced player. He definitely knows that most likely Kranich is going to have one of those combo pieces here, or even more.
And either Force of Nature or Savage Roar would be enough. And there's the second part.
Wow.
So, Kranich, Force of Nature, Savage Roar, that is more than enough damage to finish off Thijs and tie this match at 1 game apiece.
All right, so the best of 5 has become a best of 3. The winner of this, again, moves on to the semifinals. It's single elimination time. So you can bet that both these guys getting a win under their belt is very relieving, but still the tension of this match is still continuing to climb here, Kibler.
Yeah. And I think that the Druid deck for Kranich was probably his strongest overall. The Druid deck has good shots to beat, I think, any of Thijs' decks. I think the deck that's going to struggle potentially in Kranich's lineup is his Zoo deck, his Warlock deck.
Yeah, it might be. Against the decks that Thijs is playing right now, both the Priest and the Patron Warrior are quite good against it.
Yeah, that's right. Well, you know, Thijs has a very interesting warrior as well. It's a deck that you brought up at the very beginning of the show. You said the Patron Warrior definitely had some setbacks recently. However, it seems to have rebounded very strongly because every game that this Patron Warrior has played, it's been successful in winning. So maybe it's not completely out of the metagame just yet.
It's definitely a very different deck. It's many of the same components, but with the change to Warsong Commander, it's much more of a mid-range style deck that can have those explosive Grim Patron turns, but doesn't really have the one-turn kill potential that it had before. It's still very good against decks built around small minions.
Yeah, I talked with Thijs about the deck, and one thing that Thijs mentioned that is the big problem with the deck is that it's really reliant on drawing that Grim Patron, because you only have that one win condition in many matchups now. So if you never see a Grim Patron drawn, you're probably going to lose.
All right, well, we'll see. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. In the meantime, we're going to have an opportunity to look at Kranich a little bit closer as we get ready for game number 3.
Even though I qualified BlizzCon 2 years in a row, I had a bit hard time in Korean scene. I just wanted to try hard, but at that time I broke up with my girlfriend. It was pretty sad. I just tried to remind my dreams and my goal. That's what really carried me to be a better player, I guess. So, hey, I'm not fine.
The dream of becoming a Hearthstone world champion. I mean, it's an amazing feeling to be here on the stage competing, but to get so close and fall short here is definitely just nothing short of devastating. A lot of these players, winning means more than anything, more than the prize pool itself.
I mean, especially for Kranich, who made it so far last year and fell just short, and he definitely wants to improve upon that result.
Yeah, absolutely. And right here, he did get that win with his Druid. The Druid was kind of expected to take a win at some point, but getting it here early, ties it 1-on-1. Anything can happen. He has fair chance.
Yeah, that's right. So we're taking a look at the classes. We tend to lean towards Thijs' way. A lot of the peers think so as well. In fact, a few polls that people were conducting both online and in person pegged Thijs as one of the overwhelming favorites to potentially go all the way and win the World Championship. So he'll have to take out Kranich to start that, who's looking to upset yet another European who might have the advantage over him.
Yeah, Kranich did take down Thijs' teammate Life Coach twice in the opening weekend to eliminate him from contention here at BlizzCon, and Thijs certainly wants to get revenge.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And with this hand against the Hunter, he might just might get his revenge. Only the Zombie Chow is a key card, most likely, but it's a good one to have on turn 1.
Zombie Chow is extremely good at allowing the priest deck to contest the board early in the game, deal with things like that Mad Scientist that we see Kranich have in his opening hand as well.
So important. He even picks up a second one. The Rumburst Agent also not bad, but he doesn't have a dragon to go with it just yet.
There's plenty of dragons though in the deck. Twilight Whelps, the Azure Drakes, as well as all the big legendary dragons. Like, those are pretty plentiful to allow you to get those activations. Wow. And that battle cry effect.
The double zombie just on turn 1 for Thijs. What a start.
Wasting no time, getting a lot of stats on the board. And this is not an aggressive start, though. This is a start that Thijs is hoping to use to contain as much of Kranich's early aggression. Because the death rattle of those zombie chows is not going to really pressure Kranich's life total, but he'll be able to fight for the board, and that's really what the Dragon Priest deck wants to do.
Totally, he bites the dragon.
All right.
Maybe not the one he was hoping for, but it's still a dragon. At this point, any dragon is good.
And one of the great things here, too, with this double Zombie Chow start is that Thijs is able to immediately deal with the trap, potentially, that Kranich has. Though I believe, if I remember correctly, Kranich had Bear Trap and Snake. He actually did not play... he actually did not play Freezing Trap that we saw during the opening weekend.
Yeah, there definitely were some interesting traps from Kranich, and that might give Thijs a little bit of a rough time guessing what it's going to be.
Yeah, the Bear Trap is so problematic considering that all of his attack on board is 2, and so that's why he made sure that the secret came out last. Sure, the damage from Zombie Chow to your opponent's health pool is not life-threatening. In fact, it'll restore 5 every time it dies. But the idea is you want to make sure that you can pick favorable trades when the bear comes out.
Kill comment on a Zombie Chow. Wow.
Kranich really just didn't have a play
There's
that
nothing
turn.
else to do.
He has He's a pretty awkward hand right now. The kill command, not even able to take down the Wormrust agent because there's no beast in play.
Extremely weak play, but Kranich had nothing else to do. The web spinner wouldn't really help his cause.
Nor would hero powering. He's just he needs to be trying to influence the board here, spending his resources to allow him to eventually develop minions that will be able to stay in play against what Thijs has played.
Yeah, that was a really obvious play too, that this is Bear Trap.
Yeah.
I think if Kranich, pulled out his cell phone and texted Thijs exactly what was in his hand with the secrets, it wouldn't have been more obvious than that.
But this is also goes to show the research that these players have done. Both players had an opportunity to watch their opponents and their matches during the opening weekend. Players here do have to play the same decks that they played at opening weekend as well.
Yeah, Thijs actually mentioned before the match that he played 10 hours against, he practiced against his teammates 10 hours yesterday, just this matchup, and his opponent, his friend, was mimicking Kranich's deck. Yeah. So he really wanted to know how exactly to play against those snake and bear traps.
Yeah, and you didn't hear that wrong. That was 10 hours, not 10 games, not 10 hours. This is some serious preparation from the European player.
So with that preparation in mind, he's going to do his best to not activate that secret so the bear can come out and potentially give anything from Ram Wrangler value to the Houndmaster getting value. All those cards can have huge swings and you'll be really behind for the rest of the game.
Yep, now he finally has a 3-power minion on the board, so that is going to help dealing with the bear. So eventually, I mean, you kind of have to go face.
Yeah, Priest has to find a way to win somehow, but they do tend to outscale that of the Hunter in terms of being able to drop the biggest threats, because you do have Ysera and a few other cards like that.
The Kranich plays the pilotless shredder there.
Pilotless shredder.
Yeah. No beast to be found for the battle.
The Houndless Master, too.
Houndless
Poor
Master.
Guy. Poor guy.
Yeah. There's no perfect way to deal with that right now. Thijs could trade the Dark Cultist for it, but then that means that the Dark Cultist won't deal with the bear.
But you can drop the Shrinkmeister to keep the Dark Cultist alive and keep the board still really strong.
I like
that. At least in my opinion.
That would be good.
Shrinkmeister, in a lot of cases, players do use it to combo with the Cabal Shadow Priest, but it is also, in a deck with as many early minions as Dragon Priest, just a great combat trick effectively.
Absolutely. And Thijs knows that Kranich is playing the slower type of Hunter, so he's not in any rush here. Even Unleash the Hounds wouldn't do all that much.
Yeah, Unleash the Hounds is great against a board full of small minions, but against a board full of 3 and 4 health minions, not really all that scary.
Yeah, it needs a juggler to go with it to get anything done against a board like this. And Kranich has neither the juggler or the Unleash right now.
Vanaheim, a powerful minion, but here, if Thijs chooses, he can pretty much just clear it very easily with his Shrinkmeister and one of the Chows, along with a Holy Nova, or even just attacking into it with the minions he has on the board.
Yeah, there's a lot of options here, but I mean, well, actually, based on his cards, there's not many options. Only Holy Nova and the Shield are playable, but the way is to clear that high main. And whether you want to clear it, whether you want to clear all of it, do you want to trigger the Snake Trap?
And that's
Bear Trap, there's so many.
Yeah. Yeah, the Blackwing Corruptor for Thijs gives him another way
Seems
to
pretty good.
clear off the body without having to sacrifice an additional minion, and then he can use the minions he has in play to clear off the Hyenas as well.
Yeah, this is one of the most efficient ways I've seen Priest deal with a Savannah Highmane without having to utilize resources like Shadow or Death. In this case, Holy Nova being really powerful against the follow-up play, which seems to be Dr. Boom to try to command the board back in your advantage.
Yeah, so Thijs he's managing his resources very well. He could have very easily just made the play of clear that, used my Holy Nova, but that would have left him with a bit less in the tank, really, to deal with this Dr. Boom.
That's right.
Yep, Kranich the first one to hit 7 mana and plays his Boom. Thijs has the option to match it with his own, but he could also go for some kind of Holy Nova play, maybe.
I mean, you get to match your opponent's Boom, and you might even have something board left over.
Yeah, it's pretty rough to pass up on the opportunity of just playing the Boom here. Also, those trades, not too bad for Kranich's Boom.
That's right. So Thijs picking up some easy trades. Still thinking about if there's merit to Holy Nova to keep a strong board, but we do think that playing your own Boom while dealing with your opponents is a really powerful play here.
Yeah, it's certainly pretty attractive. He's able to wait to attack into the boom bots until the...
That's a bad result. That's probably probably one of the worst ones, if not the worst one. Also, if the Twilight Wealth was to die, that would have been That would have been not so nice, but now, as it is, that Shrink Master is likely to die.
Yeah, well, he does keep the Twilight Whelp, so gives him some board presence along with the Dr. Boom.
Yeah, Dr. Boom alone is already
Dr. Boom doesn't need much help. He brings friends. You know, he's a party all unto himself.
That's right. He always carries his boombot music around him, right? Always got those beats next to him. Mad Scientist and the River Crocolisk is the best that he can do. He does have Hunter's Mark to remove a lot of the health of Dr. Boom, but that's it's a very defensive move that he doesn't even have a way to follow up on.
And this is another opportunity for Thijs to use this Holy Nova that could be very powerful.
I really don't think the Holy Nova gets any better than this.
Hard to find a better spot.
Yeah.
I believe the Holy Nova will also trigger a second trap, which you can use easily to have a Boombot deflect a freezing trap if it is in the deck.
If I remember correctly from opening weekend, Kranich's deck had just the bear and snake. I don't even think it had freezing trap.
He could just ignore the snakes that's likely to come out.
All right, well, first you kill off the Hunter Creeper, get some of the tokens out of the way so you can clear everything in one go.
Yep.
But he's just being careful, like maybe I use this to kill off the bear now, and then use the Boombot to clean up.
There's the bear. So it looks like he wants to Holy Nova. Ooh, that's interesting. Maybe he's not going to cast his Holy Nova at all.
No Holy Nova. Well, this certainly is a strong play as well.
Yeah. He does retain a very strong board presence against not really that much on Thijs' side.
Sure, it's the most power on board. So he says there's no way for you to be aggressive. You use 2 kill commands.
Ooh, but
so.
the Unleash here, this is actually very strong for Kranich. He does have a board that will enable him to potentially use that Hunter's Mark and the Unleash to pretty much clear what Thijs has in play.
That's not the optimal animal companion for now, but it's not too bad either.
Yeah, he would love to get Leok or Huffer or something that had more aggressive potential with these dogs, but it's still a very good situation for him to clear the board. However, he has no cards remaining.
Leok would have helped to clear off those 2 toughness minions off the board by using just 1 hound each, but still getting that 4/4. It's a decent minion. The biggest problem that Kranich has right now is that he has no cards left in his hand.
And Thijs has 2 Holy Novas, which is going to leave Kranich with no minions left in play either.
Wow, that's going to be a board clear, and the Priest looks pretty good against Hunter at 22 life. It's nowhere near within burn range that the Hunter has that's already used 2 kill commands on small minions.
Not just 2 kill commands, but a Dr. Boom and Savannah Highmane, many of its strongest threats overall.
Yeah, Kranich really needs to pick up something like the second Highmane from the top.
And even if he does,
there's
Death
actually,
Nova.
yeah, there's all the answers. This is going to be rough for Kranich. I'm not sure what he can exactly draw here to get back into the game.
Hitting mid-sized minions is helpful, though. Sludge Belcher can start putting in some work. It doesn't even necessarily get dealt with at all by Thijs' hand.
But Ysera is going to make that Sludge Belcher. I mean, it's going to end its dream.
That's right. The Queen of Dreams lands onto the board. Almost any dream card he picks up will be helpful. Emerald Drake's a lot of power, that's one of the best ones you can afford.
I mean, it's also a dragon, which is great.
Yeah, that also helps. And no minions in Thijs' hand. Picking one now is an all right thing. And Kranich draws and Unleash the Hounds. Not what he was looking for right now.
With the Valence Chosen, allows Thijs to kill off and even heal to draw cards. He feels comfortable enough, even though he's at 19 life remaining, he doesn't necessarily have to heal himself because the Hunter is out of aggressive options for the most part.
Yeah, and then I would imagine we'll likely see the Drake come down as well. This is putting a very, very fast clock on Kranich here. The Dragon Priest deck able to really turn the corner and put a lot of pressure on very quickly.
Absolutely. The reason why he healed a minion here, I mean, it doesn't really matter if the Ysera is 13 or 15, but he wanted to draw the card. And Kranich concedes. He realized there's nothing he can do against the Ysera. And Thijs goes up 2-1.
2-1, just 1 game away from going to the semifinals. Thijs would be the first European also to go to the semifinals here, off of their relatively disappointing finish last year in the Hearthstone World Championships.
Yeah, Thijs, he said last weekend at opening weekend that he felt like Europe was the strongest region, and he is hoping to help prove that.
Yeah, I saw a RIP Patrons sign in the audience somewhere. And now we are going to have Thijs play that Patron. And
We'll see. We'll
if
see.
it works out.
That's right. I mean, the internet's never been wrong before, Savis, let me tell you. But I think the Patron Warrior is something that you can't underestimate whatsoever. This deck, even though it does have one or two steps missing from its young, youthful days, right, where it can jump up and dunk any ball into the hoop effectively. Nowadays, it's like learned an old man ground game, so to speak. It has to get dirty, it has to control the board, and then hopefully carry that mid-range tempo to a victory.
Stat-wise, Patron Warrior has actually been the best one from their round of 16. Two players brought it, Ostkaka and Thijs, and they managed to win all of their games with that deck. So Patron so far 4-0, 100% win rate.
Yeah, and I think that the Zoo deck, the Warlock deck that Kranich brought, is one of the decks that the Patron Warrior deck is very strong against. Even just the card Grim Patron is very difficult for any deck built around small minions to really handle on its own.
Yeah, that's right. So with that said, we're going to see that coming up in game number 4. When we return, we're going to see if Thijs can close out. He's up 2-1. We'll be right back.
I think my past really made who I am now. I look everything positive, even if something is really negative happening in my life or happening with me. It's something I learned from, so it's not bad at all. It feels sometimes like the day back where I played in the King of the Hill, and I had a chance there to make a name of myself. And surprisingly, also for myself, is that I did really well there, and I won 9 times in a row. And after that, it went just really fast. I had an invite for DreamHack, and I get picked up by a team. And yeah, it's I'm still super surprised how fast all the time go, and that I'm now just here being a competitive Hearthstone player. When I was younger, I was kind of ill. I was really struggling with myself. Really anxious, and yeah, I had some more mental problems, and it sucked that time, but how I'm getting out of it, like, it really improves your personality, and now I'm just I feel really strong. I was really unsure about myself. I was always thinking how others will think of me, how they will like me, so yeah, that was some of a problem for me. But after that, I just realized that if I'm just myself, that's the best way to go. And yeah, if people don't like it, then it sucks for them. The gaming was a good outway for me. When I started gaming, I always played already some games, but yeah, I enjoyed myself. I found my way making things easier. I felt really comfortable where I struggled sometimes with being comfortable, communicating. Now it made me easier. The motivation of me is, it's something that was always already with me. In every game I played, even if it was just football or just a small game with friends, or not even a game, I just always look for perfection. And it's yeah, something that also, when I play Hearthstone, I play it for fun, but I always want to be one of the better, or I want to improve. And yeah, it's just how my personality is somehow. But now with there's also a lot of motivation. I just like Hearthstone a lot, the game, and yeah, I'm just enjoying everything I do, and that is the biggest motivation for me now. I think in most of the regions, in Hearthstone at least, it's pretty friendly how people look at it. Of course, you are competitively when you play the game, but after the game you can have some frustrations, but you will still be friends. I'm not going here to survive the groups. I really want to win the tournament, and that's why I'm just taking a lot of risk. And yeah, I'm pretty sure people didn't expect this lineup from me. For me, winning BlizzCon will mean a lot. Just being the world champion is something I could not even dream of.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Anaheim Convention Center, live at the Hearthstone stage. Thanks so much, everyone, showing up. You're all beautiful, lovely people. As we are getting ready for game number 4 between Thijs from the Netherlands and Kranich from Korea. Thijs is one step away from being the first European ever to go to the semifinals for the Hearthstone World Championships.
Yeah, we saw at least one player in the crowd out there, one fan in the crowd with a sign rooting for Thijs. I imagine there are quite a few fans rooting for each of these players.
Yeah, now would be a good time to get in here. Thijs is one game away from being the first one to advance to the round of 4.
Yeah, well, we will see that Patron Warrior also come to fruition, whether or not it can succeed and keep up that 100% win rate, or will it find its first fault ultimately against a lineup of Zoo Warlock as well as the Hunter. These are two classes that you'll commonly see a lot. Maybe this is, you know, the real trial, the real fire that Patron has to go through. It's been killing Druids, which we know it's a great matchup, but has to fare against these other really powerful and popular decks.
It's a very, very strong deck, and here we will see going up against the Warlock deck, which I think Thijs feels like is the better of the matchups for the Patron Warrior deck. The mid-range Hunter deck with its more large minions, things like Savannah Highmane, can cause a bit of trouble, but that Void Terror in Kranich's hand is certainly one of the strongest cards in the matchup.
Yeah, looking at this starting hand, Thijs doesn't have a weapon just yet. Armor Smith and Slam are both like kind of like the second best things to have on turn 2. Right. If there's nothing to kill, then you can play the Armor Smith. If there's something important that you have to remove, like a Knife Juggler, he could use the Slam. But certainly he wants to see those weapons over those two cards.
He tried his hardest. He threw away his entire hand. Kranich keeping only the Flame Imp to start off the early curve. And that's a lot of 3/2s that'll become barreling down with a lot of power.
Yeah, Kranich with a very, very strong opening hand here. He looks like he's actually not going to play the Flame Imp in turn 1, instead choosing to just coin out the Knife Juggler.
I believe this might be because he saw that Thijs replaced all of his starting hand cards. And when you see a warrior replace all of those cards, and he knows that you're Zoo, you can kind of predict that the chances for him to have the Fiery War Axe are lower than they would be in case the warrior, let's say, kept 3 cards.
Plus, the upside of this is a lot of damage. Every single minion that you're able to play with a second Knife Juggler is two more damage that you would normally do if you just had the Knife Juggler go with the regular curve, because you'd be ahead of it that way.
It also allows Kranich to use his mana more efficiently over the opening turns. He can play the turn 1 Knife Juggler, then play the turn 2 Juggler, and then play, say, Flame Imp and Hero Power, or something like that Imp Gang boss he drew just this turn. If he did play Flame Imp and then played Knife Juggler the next turn, he wouldn't have a great opportunity to use that coin in a future turn.
Deathspite is an alright draw. He would have preferred the Fire War Axe to start clearing those, but he still has a decent play with the Acolyte of Pain and the Inner Rage, if he wants to go for the Inner Rage here.
Chooses not to Inner Rage his Acolyte, which will potentially allow Thijs to remove it fairly easily.
That's right. Well, I mean, Kranich can remove it, but Thijs can also use the Inner Rage defensively.
Yes.
So that way he can kill off whatever 3/2 ends up picking it off.
But the most likely option, though, is that he wants to go for those Patrons on turn 5. With the Deathspite, with the Grim Patron in his hand, and the Inner Rage, he can produce 4 Patrons on turn 5.
And this, just like we were talking about earlier, the 2 Jugglers into 2 creatures, 2 minions on turn 3. Kranich using his mana very efficiently and putting Thijs under a ton of pressure.
Yeah, Thijs already down to 21 and looking at 11 power on the board. He can clear one of those right now. He can also play the Dread Corsair. It seems like probably something that he has to do. Oh. Doesn't go for it just.
Wow.
Yeah, potentially he is afraid of Implosion. That would have been a little bit bad, because he would have given out a good target for it.
This sort of position, I'm actually a little surprised, you know, because of how much pressure Thijs is under, that he didn't necessarily take the sort of calculated risk of potentially allowing an Implosion from Kranich to be powerful, because he's going to take 8 more damage this turn at least.
Right, with a 9th point, of course, coming from the Knife Juggle itself. Thijs could be thinking that his only chance is to come back through a Grim Patron board. But it's going to be a really tough climb, considering that he's at a low 10 HP already. And the aggression is going to continue to come.
Yeah, I mean, he can play the Patron, he can play the Corsair, he can Inner Rage the Patron, make a bunch of Patrons, but he has to attack into something with that weapon now.
He is going to go for the Inner Rage on his own minion instead of one of Kranich's 3/2s, which would have allowed a little bit more clear, but I believe if he does the Inner Rage, he just might be dead to the Power Overwhelming.
Yeah, the Power Overwhelming to come through on the other end would be too much. Thijs can use the Inner Rage, like you said, aggressively to kill off one of those minions that has 2 health remaining. But if he does, you know, what's the likelihood of him coming back into the game?
Yeah, I think it's kind of the winning play to just play the Inner Rage right on the Patron. Otherwise, it's just you're playing not to lose. And how do you win the game in the long run if the Warlock even manages to clear both of your Patrons off the board?
He's going to get the damage on his Dread Corsair to potentially set up a battle.
Oh, he could try to hit the Juggle on one of his.
Oh yeah,
one of his Patrons here.
Oh,
from the Imp Gang boss.
And that was what he was hoping for, I think.
No, not this time.
No, and it ends up hitting the 1/1, or the 3/2, so that the 1/1 can trade easily, and that's a very clear Power Overwhelming.
Yep, and that's with that Power Overwhelming, Kranich is going to force a game 5 here in this first set of the day.
So,
setting up a date with the Warrior versus the Hunter, a classic rivalry between these two classes.
Not necessarily the classic styles of the two decks, though. Usually you expect the Warrior decks to be these slow, controlling sort of decks, but we have the more mid-range style of Patron Warrior deck, and I think that this deck is actually in a position where it may struggle against Hunter.
It can go either way, I would say. Sometimes Savannah high mains are so good against that, against the Patron Warrior, but also those board clears from Thijs against the snakes and whatever the small minions are, he can just clear all of those so easily with so many ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So it'll come down one more time to a Hunter versus the Patron, which I believe that Thijs was telling me he doesn't feel very confident in this matchup specifically. He feels like you definitely want those old Warsong commanders back into the deck, especially against a class like Hunter. However, he's practiced it many times since then, so maybe he's even more comfortable today than he was yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, he was saying earlier this was one of the matchups he was hoping to avoid, but definitely still one that he has the ability to win.
Absolutely, and for his sake, he really needs to pick up the Fire War Axe this time. It helps so much. That knife juggler into flaming, all of that stuff, it's just too much to handle, yeah.
Too much damage. And so that was the end of Game 4. Game 5 is coming up. Who will go to the semifinals? We'll find out right after we get a few words with Thijs about some of his trips around the world.
If you want to be a competitive Hearthstone player, you just really have to look at yourself. And with yourself, it's not only your Hearthstone gameplay, but also just, look who you are and look what will be the best for you. People always ask me, I should...
All right, well, Thijs, looks like we ran out of time. Sorry, we're going to game number 5 here in just a second to determine who is going to be semifinalist number 1. One thing, again, that's so cool is that Kranich got this far last year with people underestimating him. And I feel like it's almost the same case yet again. This guy comes in as the only player to repeat performances. And yet, despite all this, he's still flown under the radar. Is he about to get a second semifinal berth here at the HWC?
I mean, I think he's in a really good position here. We were just saying that Thijs feels like this is probably the weakest matchup against Kranich's lineup for his Patron Warrior deck, and I have to imagine that Kranich is feeling good going to this last game.
Yeah, many people favor Thijs or predict Thijs to be the winner here, but Kranich is not a bad player. It's just Thijs has been on such like a hot streak lately, but Kranich here showing that he definitely can put up a good fight.
Yeah, and Kranich's accomplishment as the only returning player, definitely huge, but somewhat overshadowed by Thijs' incredible run, but we will see which of them continues that right here, right now.
Well, look at that, 1, 2, 3 for Kranich. Not much more he could hope for.
I would keep that. It's pretty good.
Yeah, the power of Hunter is be able to drop something every single turn and threaten the Warrior very proactively, leading ideally to your 6 and 7 mana plays of Savannah High Main and your Dr. Boom. Then you use the board to be able to push for damage lethal after you controlled it for such a long time. Tyson, the same way, is going to be looking to do that, although he's got different cards to interact with the Hunter's cards, that is.
Yeah, but there's some options here. He could keep the Slam or the Acolyte. Maybe even the Gnomish. Execute certainly getting thrown back. It seems too early for that. He could also just replace everything and try to go aggressively for that Axe.
Yeah, much like against the Warlock deck, Thijs really looking to pick up Fiery War Axe. He wants to be able to contain the early minion damage that Kranich is hoping to do, and Kranich has just the tools to do exactly that.
Yeah, we can already see how important that Axe would be. And Thijs choosing to only keep the Acolyte, wants to have that turn 3.
There is Fiery War Axe.
Fiery War Axe, and we have a game.
Yeah, Thijs with exactly the tool that he was looking to pick up in his mulligan phase. Kranich picks up a second copy of Animal Companion, so we're gonna have quite the game here, I think.
Yeah, excellent hands from both of these players. Wow, worthy game 5 for sure.
Yeah, that Unstable Ghoul is really powerful to control all those other small shenanigans like the snake traps or unleash the hounds from getting too far away. Plus, the Acolyte of Pain tucked behind the Unstable Ghoul is a very powerful synergy to continue to draw cards while controlling too many minions from being able to flood it.
And I like this play from Kranich here, choosing to deploy the Mad Scientist rather than the Knife Juggler here. The Mad Scientist, even if it dies, will give him that trap, which because he has Snake and the Bear Trap, will actually effectively equate to a free minion or group of minions, and also works very well with the animal companion here.
Yep.
Whereas Juggler can have a lot of effect later on.
And pulling that trap out of the deck as fast as you can is usually a good thing, because then you're less likely to draw into it later on in the game.
And now Thijs, yeah, he's got an interesting spot here.
Snakes.
Yeah, but he does have the ability to attack into the Misha, and it does 4 damage to himself, but he'll be able to clear off all of Kranich's board with that whirlwind.
It's snakes. Acolyte will.
Oh, that's such a big moment.
Whoa. Yeah, this is huge.
This is perfect for Thijs right now.
We even see Thijs let out a sigh, sigh of relief here, as that was exactly the trap he was hoping for. Coin Whirlwind off the Acolyte will pick him up a card and clear Kranich's entire board.
And he still has that 1/2 on the board, which is going to help activating those executes and the Battle Rage later on.
Yeah, and those things just continue to chain off each other. The more cards you draw deeper in your deck, the more likely you have the resources to keep the board clear and be able to use it to push aggressively for a win.
Yep. 4 mana for Kranich. Nothing is perfect here, but he does have some options. He could go for Juggler, Quick Shot. He could also go for the Animal Companion. The Team Will probably not gonna get anything done just yet, but later on, with an Unleash the Hounds, it might be excellent.
All right, so Leok, probably what Kranich least wanted to see here. Not really able to push any damage immediately, and
oh man,
relatively easy for Thijs to remove with that second Fiery Rock.
That's great. Now Thijs can draw even more with Battle Rage, and then follow up a play by killing off this Leok and setting up another weapon. Maybe even more, depending on what he draws.
You could just go for the Ghoul as well. That seems pretty good to me, because with that Leok, there's only 2 damage, and the Ghoul does have 3 HP. And if it gets killed, if there's an easy way for Kranich to deal 3 to it, the Acolyte will still throw an extra card.
That is true. I think one thing that you are worried about is Houndmaster from being able to load up too big of a board, but you do have that Execute to back it up the following turn.
Yeah, certainly some options here. Fire War Axe trade, or just Unstable Cool Phase. Both seem pretty good. Something like an Execute play here would probably not make any sense, because the Axe seems so much better over it.
But one thing I do like about the Unstable Ghoul is that it'll keep a minion on the board, so that way you can have Fiery War Axe. Or you can use Fiery War Axe to not take too much health, because if he didn't have any minions on board, his activators was either Whirlwind from hand or Weapon, and both those are really costly.
So the Unleash the Hounds picked up by Kranich, usually good against an opponent with a few minions in play, but pretty weak against the Ghoul itself.
Yeah, usually also very good with when you have a Leok on the board.
Yeah,
but
he has Knife Juggler and Leok and Unleash, and those are just not what he wants to play.
Not at all.
Yeah, I mean, there is a quick shot onto the Unstable Ghoul, and then you kill off the Acolyte, but you give 2 cards to your opponent. Not to mention that he indirectly gets what he wants anyways, which was to kill the Leok very easily with something like Fiery War Axe, or even more.
No, he's trying to juggle it though. Does not hit it, so now he has to use the Leok. He wants to deal with it right now.
Attack into it with Leok helps prevent Thijs from being able to use the Acolyte to attack whenever he wants. Ooh, that's a good pickup for Thijs there. Another weapon, Death's Bite.
So the Death's Bite allows him to threaten the Patron's next turn. He executes the Leok, kills off the Juggler, and then will, the next turn, clear off the Timberwolf with the Whirlwind effect. This is looking like Thijs has an opportunity to flip the board very soon, although Kranich will be looking to put his most powerful cards up in the next couple turns.
Yeah, even though the Execute might seem like it was kind of lightly used, and that was not a big minion at all, he does have that second Execute in his hand, which allows him to use the first one more lightly.
And so we can even see Thijs play the Grim Patron, attack Kranich's face, potentially, and then execute that Savannah Highmane. He could attack into the Highmane, but that's a lot of damage to take.
Yeah, probably too much at this point. Yes, you feel comfortable. Yes, you even have Armorsmith, but I don't think it's a good idea to try and attack the Highmane directly.
Oh, wow, he actually just chooses to Whirlwind and leave the Highmane in play.
He's going super aggressive.
Yeah, he just wants as many of these Grim Patrons getting in here as possible, especially with that Armorsmith in his hand. Getting a significant number of additional minions in play will allow him to potentially use them as resources to regain health as well.
Yep, strong play. And Thijs also realized that there's not all that many things that he would lose to straight away. You could double kill command Abusive Surge.
But that is
was the only thing.
a lot of damage. Houndmaster on the Savannah High main crunches Thijs down to just 7 life, but that armor smith in his hand.
That's so big, and he has
so
Execute to follow up to make sure that he can keep some of these patrons alive and copy them while doing more damage.
He can actually execute the high main, attack into 2 of the 2/2s, trade off his 3/1 into the Houndmaster, leave Kranich with absolutely nothing in play, and gain a bunch of armor.
Yeah, Thijs is taking a commanding lead in this game right now. Kranich, oh, we can see it on his face. He's not happy about this. The game is slipping away from him right now.
Right. I mean, he will have some more damage with the Unleash the Hounds. The more patrons that come up, the more hounds that spawn onto the board. But it's, again, all these minions are gaining more armor and more life for Thijs to put himself out of range.
Yeah. But if there is something like a second animal companion, he does roll that Leok there.
He's actually played both as well. He's already played both.
That is true. That is true. You are correct, Brian. Both of those animal companions were played very early on in the game, so I don't know what Kranich can do to come back into this. Or would a kill command do it? Don't think so.
Looks like.
All right, so he chooses to maximize it instead. He will be at 13 HP, which is still susceptible to the kill command.
Kill command would still do it.
Everyone
exactly lethal if he picked up the kill command here.
And that web spinner is not it.
That is not it. Good news for Thijs fans.
But that means Kranich has to spend this turn clearing because the patron presence is too much.
Yeah, he can use the Unleash the Hounds and remove the 1 health patrons, but there's just gonna be more patrons, and that's it!
Our first semifinalist has been decided, and it is a European, all the way from the Netherlands. Thijs ends up qualifying for a top 4, stopping Kranich from his tracks.
Yeah, a very, very close match. You know, we saw that the full 5 games, and there were opportunities for each player to win in a lot of those spots, but Thijs was able to come out victorious.
Yeah, that last turn from Kranich just says it all. Was 1 kill command away from taking the game, even though it looks so bad for him.
Yeah, I mean, Thijs was able to pick up the weapons that he needed, and he was able to find that Grim Patron, put a bunch of them in play, and then with that Armor Smith, keep himself out of range of even Unleash the Hounds finishing him off.
The dream is still alive for Thijs as he is the victor for now, and we'll be waiting a winner's interview in just a moment, but let's go ahead and reflect on what this series means. It means our first European ever has advanced to the semifinals of the HWC. Also, the only player to bring Priest to this tournament is also still in the tournament, and the Priest is looking pretty decent here.
Dragon Priest for World Champion, that's all I have to say.
Yeah, well, Kibler's happy, and I think everyone else is pretty collectively happy to see some of these classes that honestly seem, you know, a little weaker than some of the really powerful classes that you see all the time on ladder.
Yeah, but the Dragon Priest certainly convincing here. It took its game quite easily.
That's right. And the Patron Warrior as well, being able to grab a win. Sure, the undefeated streak has ended, but at the same time, that doesn't really matter. Whether you win by an inch or mile, a win is a win. And right now, Rachel is down on the stage with the winner, Thijs, who's our first semifinalist.
That's right, Dan. Thank you. Thijs, you just said it yourself. What a match. So tell me about that match from your perspective.
It was a really intense series. I felt like every match was really close, or it came down to really close decisions. I think it was a really good series also to watch, and yeah, it was just, it was really intense, this series.
It was definitely exciting. You had a crowd gathered here at BlizzCon, of course. And backstage, everyone was biting their nails. You also managed to avenge your teammate life coach in this match. How does that feel?
Yeah, that feels awesome. This one was also a bit for life coach because Kranich advanced over life coach, but yeah, I'm really happy that I can also do this for him now.
Well, you're the first to qualify for our top 4, and you're actually Firebat's pick to win. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's, I really appreciate that, actually. Firebat is an insane player, and if I can get the trophy from him, then yeah, it's some awesome words.
And Thijs, what would you want to prove with this victory?
I think something cool to, let's see, my lineup-wise, going with really unpredictable decks. Everyone thought that Druid and Paladin will be the strongest classes, and I just play Priest and Patron Warrior still, and Freeze Mage, and I think it's a really cool thing to show that if you can also play control decks, like go with a heavy control lineup, you can get pretty far.
Absolutely wise words from Thijs. And we do want to do a short thank you to our sponsors. So we're going to take a look at the best highlights from our match, brought to you by Windows 10 DVR Replay.
The 2015 World